So
Exactly.
my
So
thing,
how would I
I know
give
where
it
you
to
live because I put down your down payment.
You sure did. Thank you so much for
And
that.
now that
Thank
you got
so
this
much for
little
the gift.
accident, give me my money back. That was not a
Promise
gift.
Supposed to say anything. The only thing that brings us together is the cameras.
I can't wait
But
to
I won't
see
be
it.
able to be there. But that's what I was calling you.
That made me very sad.
I know.
Let's dive into this because the Braxton family drama just flipped into something wild and straight up unbelievable. This whole situation between Tamar and Towanda is way deeper than people thought, and it's loaded with broken trust, big money, and sisters turning on each other when they were supposed to be tight like glue. We're talking about $50,000. Not pocket change, not let me borrow a little something, but a real down payment.
Has been using my credit card to pay her phone bill.
My phone bill?
Now, Tony.
Beautiful.
So what?
Tamar handed Towanda that money to lock in a house, a full-on place to live, something serious. But now Towanda is out here acting like the cash was just some friendly gift, like Tamar just handed her 50 grand for fun. That's wild. And here's the thing. This isn't some random rumor someone made up online. There's a real property tied to this whole mess, a real listing, and actual receipts that link everything together.
I know where you live because I put down your down payment.
You sure did. Thank you so much for
And
that.
now that
Thank
you
you
got
so
this
much for
little
the gift.
accident, give me my money back. That was not a
Promise
gift.
to God. Yes, it was. But it's
no,
okay.
you didn't.
The same house that popped up on their reality show lines up perfectly with what Tamar talked about. And that makes everything hit even harder. It's not just talk. It's real-life proof sitting in plain sight. What makes everything even more shocking is how the rest of the sisters decided to play it. Tony, Trina, all of them apparently knew exactly what went down, but instead of helping clear Tamar's name, they stood back and let people think she was being dramatic or even making stuff up. That's rough, especially when it's family and you expect them to step up when stuff gets messy.
Yes, it was. But it's
you
okay.
didn't. Towanda told me her lender needed to see the money in her account and that she was waiting on a check and she would be giving me my money back. I was reluctant, but I said, okay.
Thank you so much.
You said I will pay you back the next day, and then you listed me as a creditor.
Oh, my.
This whole thing is already sounding like the beginning of a storm, and it's only the first layer of the drama. That's cold on a whole different level, especially when you know someone is already battling their own mental and emotional struggles. Tamar has always kept it real about the things she's faced. She never hid that. So for her own family to gaslight her on national TV like she was confused or making things up, that's harsh. And here's the wild part. Tamar straight up told Towanda on the show, I paid your down payment, and Towanda didn't deny anything. She didn't argue. She didn't correct her. She actually thanked her right there in front of everybody. So how in the world does that suddenly turn into, it was a gift? Come on now. That's not how real agreements work, and everybody knows it.
It was absolutely a gift. And it wasn't that I approached her. She said, but I want to help you get, it's like, okay. And that's just something that we used to do as sisters, help each other.
The burden on you is the one that made it out. But you gotta be willing to let them fly.
I feel like I do. I feel like they don't let me.
What's making this whole situation even louder is what people have been whispering about Towanda's money habits. Folks have been saying she's had issues with spending and borrowing before, and now everything Tamar said is starting to look way too real. Tamar even mentioned that Towanda came into some money, something tied to a lawsuit or settlement, and even then she still didn't pay her back. That's the part that's got everyone raising their eyebrows. At this point, it's getting hard to defend Towanda's actions because the whole thing looks less like sisterly support and way more like a straight-up betrayal. Seeing your own sister struggling and still acting like you don't owe her anything, that hits different. And listen, watching Tamar stay firm while everyone around her acted clueless, that speaks volumes. This was never just about the money. This was about loyalty, respect, and the truth being ignored while the whole world was watching. This part right here really exposes everything, because how are you living in a nice house, looking comfortable, pockets looking all right, but you still can't pay back the sister who helped you when you were down? That's the type of thing that makes people question everything, and that's wild for real. If someone comes through for you with that kind of support when you're struggling, the least you can do is make things right. Now let's break this down, because once you look at the real estate side of the story, the truth starts slipping out fast. When you're buying a house, every single dollar has to be tracked and explained. No mystery cash, no, it just showed up. None of that. The bank needs proof of where the money came from and exactly who sent it. You can get help from a family member, sure, but it all has to be in writing with full documentation, because lenders don't play around with big amounts. So if Tamar really transferred $50,000 to Towanda, that clearly wasn't some casual, here, take this as a gift moment. This sounds much more like a short-term loan to make Towanda look financially ready for the home purchase, the type of thing people do when they're trying to get approved and need their bank statements to look solid. That's why Towanda suddenly calling it a gift doesn't match how real estate works at all. The numbers don't add up, the story doesn't line up, and the timing makes the whole thing look even more suspicious. It feels like someone changed the narrative after the fact. And here's where it goes, from messy to straight up unbelievable. Tamar reportedly said Towanda promised she would return the money the very next day, like it was supposed to be a quick turnaround. But instead of paying her back, Tamar later finds out Towanda listed her as a creditor in her bankruptcy case. That means Towanda officially put Tamar on paperwork as someone she owed money to, even though she was publicly claiming the money was a gift. That twist right there is the kind of thing that makes people stop and go, wait, what? This whole situation just keeps getting more intense with every detail. Like what? That's bold on a whole different level. Let me break this down real quick, because this part right here is where things start looking real shady. Now, I'm not saying Towanda actually did this, but some folks out there will list someone as a creditor in their bankruptcy just so the debt gets wiped clean. That way, they don't have to pay back the person who helped them in the first place. And guess who ends up losing? The same person who stepped up for them when they were struggling. That's messed up. And here's the part that makes everybody's eyebrows shoot up. There are real bankruptcy filings with Tamar's name on them, and it's public record. That alone backs up what Tamar has been saying from the jump. This isn't some rumor floating around. This is actual paperwork filed with the court. That gives the story a whole different weight. Now let's talk about the timeline, because it hits hard. Towanda bought her home in 2018, right? But by April 2019, she was already filing for bankruptcy. That's barely a year later. So what does that tell you? She took the $50,000, closed on the property, then turned around and filed for bankruptcy, like wiping her sister off the debt meant nothing. If that doesn't look like a setup, then what does? At this point, it really starts to feel like Towanda never planned to pay Tamar back in the first place. And to make everything even stranger, Tamar says it was $50,000, while Towanda keeps insisting it was only $35,000. Why can't the numbers even match up? How do you misremember tens of thousands of dollars? Somebody is clearly twisting the story, and it's not hard to see who benefits the most from all this confusion. You know what's wild? That whole $35,000 versus $50,000 argument actually makes sense once you really think about it. If someone borrowed money all the way back in 2018, and we're only talking about it now, years later, the amount could have easily gone up just from interest alone. So that difference Towanda keeps talking about might not be some mystery. It might just be the result of her waiting forever to pay back what she owed. And let's keep it real. Tamar had proof. This wasn't some friendly little, oh, here's a sweet gift moment. There were receipts, documents, and actual bankruptcy records showing she was supposed to be repaid. So for Towanda to sit there and act like the money was just a gift, that's not just wrong. That's straight up gaslighting your own sister while the whole world is watching. Like, how do you take something that serious and twist it into something casual just to protect your image? That's wild. Towanda even tried to flip the story and make it look like Tamar was offering help she never asked for, trying to paint Tamar as controlling, like she was using money to hold something over her. But come on now, this wasn't the first time Tamar stepped in to help her. According to reports, Tamar had been covering Towanda's phone bills. Not one line, not two lines. 6 phone lines, all on Tamar's own credit card. 6. Who even needs that many lines? That's not helping out a sister. That's taking advantage of somebody's kindness until they're drained. And here's the part that blows my mind even more. Tamar wasn't out here bragging about any of this. She wasn't running around telling everyone what she paid for or trying to embarrass anyone. She kept it quiet until the whole situation pushed her to speak up because things were getting twisted beyond recognition. That's when you know someone has really reached their limit. After all that, Towanda had the nerve to act like she's the victim, like Tamar is the bad one just because she finally called her out. Come on now. If this were anybody else, people would be calling it exactly what it looks like, straight up taking someone's money and pretending nothing happened. Tamar had every right to take legal action, and the fact that she didn't shows how much she still cared about keeping the family together instead of seeking revenge. But instead of supporting her, the rest of the Braxton crew, Trina, Tony, even their mother Evelyn, all seemed to slide onto Towanda's side. They actually defended her, and that's wild to see. There were even rumors going around that they wanted to call the police on Tamar, the same person who lost the money. How does that even make sense? How do you protect the one who took the money and turn on the one who trusted them? Somebody needs to explain that logic because it's not lining up at all. At this point, the whole situation is screaming jealousy and favoritism from miles away. It's clear some of the sisters can't stand how Tamar always finds herself in the spotlight, and instead of dealing with their own feelings, they gang up on her like that's going to fix anything. And Towanda trying to deflect by bringing up Tony's condo situation? Please. There's a huge difference between asking your sister if she's staying somewhere temporarily and taking her money or using her credit cards without permission. One is a simple conversation, the other is a whole crime. Trying to lump those things together doesn't make Towanda look innocent. It makes her look like she's scrambling to shift blame onto anything and anyone else. This part right here shows how twisted the whole thing became because instead of honesty and accountability, it turned into blame games and finger pointing. What really gets me is how Tony and Trina acted through all of this. They knew exactly what Towanda did, the credit card situation, the money, all of it, and they still stood by her like nothing happened. How do you watch your own sister cross the line like that and still defend her? That's not loyalty. That's straight up enabling bad behavior. And here's the part that really hits. Tony even admitted on camera that she knew what was going on. She literally confirmed it herself. So that means the whole family knew the truth from the start. But instead of speaking up, they all circled around Towanda like they were protecting her from the consequences. That's sad, because that's not what real family support looks like. That's not protecting someone. That's covering up wrongdoing just to keep the family image polished. And Tony's reaction, that little smug smirk when she said, "Family helps each other." Excuse me, since when does taking someone's money count as helping? Since when does taking $50,000, filing bankruptcy to dodge repayment, and maxing out your sister's credit card turn into family helping family? Be serious. That's not family support. That's taking advantage of someone who trusted you. And Tony's calm, unbothered attitude while all this was playing out just shows how deep the cracks run in that family when it comes to loyalty and fairness. Some people get protected no matter what they do, and some people get blamed no matter what they didn't do. But let's get to the part that sent chills down my spine. Tamar said, "You don't want to go blow for blow with me." That line right there showed she was sitting on a whole mountain of truths she'd been holding back for years. It made everything feel 10 times heavier, like this drama wasn't even close to being over. "I know where the bodies are buried. That's not just a comeback. That's a straight-up warning shot." That line tells me Tamar is sitting on way more receipts, way more secrets, and way more truth than anybody in that family wants to face. She was basically saying, "I've been quiet long enough, but if you push me, I'll drop everything." And honestly, after watching how her own family treated her, who could blame her if she finally let it all out? Because let's keep it real. Tamar got painted as the crazy one, the liar, the problem, the dramatic sister who always made things bigger than they were. But when you actually look at the paperwork, the dates, the money trail, everything lines up with exactly what she's been saying since day one. The proof is literally sitting right there in black and white. Let's break it down one more time. Towanda gets the house in 2018 using Tamar's $50,000, and cool. But not even a year later, in 2019, she files for bankruptcy and lists Tamar as a creditor, which wipes out the debt completely. Then you've got the credit card situation. Unauthorized spending, multiple charges, and Tamar footing the bill without even knowing it first. And still, not one sister stepped up to defend Tamar. Not one single voice saying, "Hey, she's telling the truth." Instead, they all stayed quiet, acting like it was minor drama, brushing it off like it didn't matter. Why? Let's be honest. It comes down to jealousy, favoritism, or maybe a messy mix of both. Whatever the reason is, it's toxic. The truth is this. The Braxton sisters, especially Towanda, betrayed Tamar in a way that cuts deep, period. Let's call it what it is. Towanda acted like a sister who couldn't handle Tamar shining brighter, and instead of owning her actions, she slid into shady territory. And instead of holding her accountable, the family just turned their heads and let everything slide like it was normal. And what's worse, this wasn't a one-time slip-up. This was a pattern, a whole cycle of ignoring Tamar's side and protecting the one who caused the damage. This part right here shows how twisted the family dynamics really were and how much Tamar had to swallow just to keep the peace. Every single detail from Tamar's side, the money, the documents, the public records, all of it lines up perfectly. The evidence does not lie, and yet her sisters still threw her under the bus like none of it mattered. That's the part that hits the hardest because the way they gaslighted Tamar in front of everybody was honestly sickening. Picture this. You lend your sister $50,000 out of pure love, just trying to help her get back on her feet. No drama, no pressure, just family supporting family. Then she doesn't pay you back, files bankruptcy to wipe the whole thing away, and somehow still flips the story to make you look unstable. That's not just sneaky. That's cold and calculated. And what makes it even worse is how the rest of the family played along like nothing was wrong, acting like Tamar was being too much or extra just for telling the truth. That's manipulation, emotional pressure dressed up as family loyalty, and it's exhausting watching someone get painted as dramatic when all they did was speak facts. Let's be honest, Tamar has had one of the strongest careers out of all the sisters besides Tony. She built her own lane, dropped hits, had major TV moments, created iconic moments, and earned real success that people still talk about. And you know what comes with success? Jealousy. And you can feel it heavy in this situation. It's like Towanda couldn't stand watching Tamar win while she was still struggling. So what did she do? She found a way to benefit from Tamar's kindness, took advantage of her support, and when the truth came to the surface, she played the victim like she was the one wronged. And instead of correcting things, the rest of the family closed ranks around Towanda like the whole situation was just a misunderstanding. They acted like nothing happened, like Tamar was making noise for no reason, like the evidence wasn't sitting right there in plain sight. This right here shows exactly how deep the jealousy and favoritism runs and how fast people will flip a story when someone else's success makes them uncomfortable. What does that really say? It tells Tamar loud and clear that her money is good enough for them, but her feelings don't matter. Her truth doesn't matter. It's basically saying, we'd rather protect the one who did wrong than the one who got wronged. That's not loyalty. That's toxicity wrapped up in a pretty bow and labeled family. Because real family doesn't cover up lies or defend someone's bad actions just because they share the same last name. Real family checks you when you're wrong, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it hurts. That's what accountability is supposed to look like. And for anybody trying to shrug this off as just family drama, let's be serious for a second. This isn't some petty argument or little disagreement. We're talking about fraud, financial betrayal, and straight-up theft. Tamar could have pressed charges if she wanted to. She had every right to, but she didn't. And why? Because she still loved her sister enough to protect her, even after being hurt. And what did she get back in return? Lies, denial, public embarrassment. Towanda acting innocent after everything that happened is next-level boldness. Tamar gave her grace, and Towanda turned that grace into another weapon against her. And you know what makes this whole situation even more twisted? The way Tamar's silence has been flipped and used against her. People see her staying quiet and think she's over it or being dramatic, but that's not what silence always means. Sometimes being quiet comes from being done, not defeated. She's had to sit back and watch her family rewrite the story in real time, acting like things happen differently, acting like she's exaggerating, acting like the truth is optional, and instead of defending her, they used her vulnerability as a tool to make her look unstable, like her pain didn't count, like her voice wasn't worth listening to. This wasn't just betrayal. It was emotional pressure dressed up as family loyalty. And seeing her pushed aside like that says everything about how deep the divide really is. That's not peace, that's pressure. Behind the scenes, insiders have said Tamar has been distancing herself from all the chaos for real. No more family vacations, no more group interviews, no more pretending everything is sunshine when it's not. She's choosing her peace, and honestly, that might be the smartest move she's ever made. Because what do you do when your own bloodline becomes the source of your pain? You protect yourself, even if it means stepping away from the people you love the most. Sometimes survival means creating distance, even if it hurts. Meanwhile, Towanda has been moving like nothing ever went down, smiling online, doing interviews, acting unbothered, like her whole reputation isn't hanging by a thread. It's almost like she's trying to outshine the scandal by pretending it never existed, like if she ignores it long enough, everybody else will too. But the internet doesn't forget. Every time her name comes up, people still mention that bankruptcy filing and that missing $50,000. That's a stain no PR trick, no interview, and no pretending can wash away. What makes this even more heartbreaking is how divided the fan base is now. Some folks are still praying the sisters can work things out someday, but a lot of people are completely done. They see the pattern clear as day. Every single time Tamar tells her truth, the family gaslights her until she looks like the villain in her own story. It's a cycle, a deep, messy cycle, and this time it feels like she's finally breaking it. She's choosing herself, choosing her healing, choosing peace over pretending. And honestly, this whole situation shows how fame, money, and pride can wreck a family from the inside out. The Braxton name used to represent unity, talent, and sisterhood, but now it's tangled up with betrayal, jealousy, and silence that says way more than words ever could. Tamar's story isn't just about the money. It's about the emotional hit that comes from loving people who keep proving they don't love you the same way back. And the saddest part, that wound didn't come from strangers. It came from home. At this point, it's hard not to shake your head at how deep this betrayal really runs. It's one thing to make a mistake, but it's a whole different level of boldness to keep pretending nothing ever happened while the person you hurt is left carrying all the weight. Tamar tried to protect her sister, tried to keep the peace, tried to hold the family together, and somehow she still got painted as the villain. That kind of emotional damage, no amount of money could ever fix that. You can feel the shift too. The vibe between the sisters isn't what it used to be. Every interview, every post, every moment they're seen together, there's this quiet tension that speaks louder than words ever could. And even though Tamar has been staying silent, that silence is powerful. Sometimes the strongest clapback is peace, and it's starting to show exactly who's been in the wrong all along. Meanwhile, watching Towanda act like everything's smooth while the receipts are out in the open, whew! That's a whole different level of audacity. She's smiling for the cameras, posting online like nothing ever went down. But let's be real, the internet does not forget. People remember the filings, the money trail, the credit card drama, every loose detail that still doesn't add up. And every single time Towanda's name starts trending, those same stories pop right back up. You can try your hardest to clean up your image, but you can't erase the truth, especially when the truth is sitting in public records. And honestly, this whole situation is a reminder that sometimes family drama hits harder than anything else. Because betrayal from someone who shares your blood, that cut hits deeper than anything. Tamar deserved honesty, not humiliation, support, not silence, truth, not twisted narratives. And after watching how everything went down, nobody can blame her for stepping back to protect her peace. That's the full breakdown, the truth behind the Braxton chaos. So drop your thoughts in the comments because this one has the whole internet divided. Do you think Tamar should finally air everything out or let it go for good? And before you scroll away, make sure you hit that subscribe button because more shocking celebrity twists and messy receipts are coming your way. And if you really want to keep the drama rolling, subscribe to the Juicy Reel channel. That's where the real tea never sleeps.